Howdy folks, I'm Luke Staus. Welcome to Earthship Farms. This is season 3. This is the third spring since we first bought the property and it was all woods. And things have changed a lot and they're really going our way now. So we're going to take a little property tour and go around and see what's springing up, see what we can find. Spring has actually come a little bit quicker this year than usual. And there's a lot of things greening out and flowering that don't normally occur until later in March. It's about March 5th today. And as you can see, all this vining greenery here, this is all honeysuckle. And it's kind of more a warm weather summer herb, or summer, plant, but it's already greening out. Also, the wild roses are starting to leaf out as well. Some of these wild rose bushes are reaching a substantial height. You can see them climbing up into the trees. I mean, that one there is probably 15, 20 foot high. And you'd be amazed, some of them can grow all the way up to the upper canopy at like 40, 50 feet. Here's some green onions getting their spring color. These are a really good addition to salads, or you can just munch on them. They don't get to the size of your regular store-bought onions, but they produce little bulbs. All you really got to do is just cut the roots off of them. Or this time of year, the best way to use them is just cut up the greens. Although a lot of the mulch pits at the front of the property, they got a lot more attention and a lot more mulch. They're actually doing good and have a lot of plants growing in them. But back here by the pond, I wasn't able to get anything to grow. I planted cannas, I planted potatoes, I even seeded some cilantro and parsley back here, but it all died shortly after growing. I even took some willow cuttings and put those in the ground, and they leafed out and looked like they were going to make it for about 2 or 3 months. But then when it got dry back here, everything just dried up. I think that's because this soil back here is just a really heavy, dense clay. It gets waterlogged when it's rainy, and then when it's dry and stuff, it gets into a hard crack state. So it's definitely going to need a lot more mulch put on it before we can grow anything back here. The moss is actually greening out quite nicely right now. It's been that darkish green color for the whole winter. And now it's getting really soft and luxurious back here by the pond. Back here by the pond in the persimmon grove, there's not much action going on yet. Got some cedar, honeysuckle. The water elms are flowering. You can see those little dingleberry flowers hanging off there. The pond hasn't greened up yet, but we've had a couple really warm weeks. And if you come out here on one of those warm days, you can hear the frogs, and it's almost a deafening noise. So that's another thing that usually doesn't happen this early in the year. Alright, we're back here on the other side of the pond, and I have never actually gotten a shot of anything back here. This is all pretty much untouched wilderness area. A lot of persimmon trees. See these ones with the splotchy bark? These are all persimmons. This is kind of what the bark looks like up close. It's kind of got that squarish pattern to it, and then it gets this moss on it. And there's a lot of persimmons back here. Great zone for developing into an orchard or something like that. This is one of the cool things that you get to experience if you're going on a walk on the farm. You never know what kind of treasures you're going to find. This whole area here by the pond is a really great bird habitat because it's so dense and it's right by the water. But it looks like this sorry sucker got ate, but I don't even know what kind of a bird that is. Real pretty though. This is a prime example of what I was talking about these thorny ass, deadly rose bushes climbing all the way up to the top. Yeah, good luck getting stuck in that. I've actually come through here and cleared some of these out with my good buddy Will, and you just cut them at the bottom and pull hard and run away. You can get them down, but I mean, like, look at that. That's just a mass of thorny vines. Whew. Now we're going on another sneak peek, another area of the property that I've never filmed documented. This is in where the earth shrine is, and it's so thick with this is all honeysuckle here. I mean, it's probably 20, 30 foot tall. But then here at the edges, you've got wild brambles. You got both blackberries and wild roses. And you've even got some spiky black locust trees. We're going to go through here. There's all kinds of wildlife trails already. Probably deer, because they love honeysuckle. We're going to check this out. These honeysuckle vines sure make beautiful twisted braided patterns. That's why I would like to grow them on some of my tire retaining walls. And they just tie onto anything, even after the tree dies. Like, they keep growing. We already got some ferns peeking up through the topsoil. I'll tell you one good benefit about these honeysuckles is they sure put off a good smelling perfume in the summertime. And this is what the shop side is looking like. It's finally dried out quite a bit. We're gonna have to come in here again, probably this time use a track hoe and clear all the stumps to the edge so we can burn them and smooth out the dirt and finish out pulling the last few stumps. I think actually we probably got at least half of them already, but there's still a few more to pull out. This is just a portion of the firewood that we got. There's another little stack over there from clearing this area of trees, and we still, as you can see, I mean, there's a big tree or two, probably three, that we still have to cut up. We got some more piles over there. So, and we actually wasted a bunch of logs because we had to get the tractor unstuck, so we got them embedded in the dirt right now. We'll have to dig those up later, but yeah, it's amazing. This clearing is probably I'd say 80 foot or 100 foot maybe by 100 foot. So just one little section of the property, there's probably 100 of these little sections. And if you just cleared out one section and processed it, you know, grew mushrooms on the logs or used the logs for firewood, planted new trees, I think that's a cool plan, you know, for harvesting the timber and everything that's on the property. Here's the one mulch pit that I've been adding to all winter. It's got cotton clothing and cardboard on the base of it, and then I've just been putting leaves and everything that's left over from my produce barrels on top, which is whatever the rabbits and pigs won't eat, which is hot peppers, pineapple tops, any citrus fruit, and onions. None of them really eat that stuff, or garlic. I also got a few artichokes over here. So I've just been adding that, and then once it gets about like this, then I put some leaves on top of it all, let it compost down. The pig pen over here from last year is just filled with great soil. What I did then is exactly what I'm doing now, and that's just I put the pigs in a little pen where they can't get out. Then I feed them those 50-gallon drums full of produce. That's all I feed them. And then I throw a bunch of leaves in there, like if I find bagged leaf mulch on the side of the road or grass clippings or whatever, and they go through it all and they mix it in with all their manure and all the leftovers from what they eat, and it turns out to be just a perfect rich compost. And this compost already has a bunch of seeds in it of edible vegetables like tomatoes, squash, melons, and peppers, because the seeds inevitably fall from the food they're eating into this stuff. So I was able last year to dig out about half this one. I kept them in here for about 6 months, let it compost for 2 or 3 months, and I've still got a whole bunch more to dig out. The only reason I'm digging it out is because it's not in a clearing right here, so it's not really a good place to grow garden vegetables. So I'm actually digging it out and transporting it to some of the beds and stuff and planting plants in it. Here's one of the semi-shade beds. This one actually has some pretty good compost going on in it right now. It should actually grow some good plants. Some of the stuff we got sprigging up already. This is a type of bamboo. It's a short growing bamboo and it grows real thick. It's really great for forage, erosion control. That made it, it's been like 6 or 8 months since I planted that, and it's actually coming back now in the spring, so that should start spreading this year. And then also in this bed, looks like we got some onions coming back up, and those are just great. So I planted onions and garlic in as many beds as I could have because they're just really great medicines and really great food. Here's a little bit of garlic coming up. Here's another mulch pit. I don't think I have any perennials planted in this, so I'm gonna have to seed this. But just to give you an idea of the decomposition that's happening and the soil building action that's going on, this bed was, I just took a bunch of old decaying logs from the woods and put them in a circle, and then started putting leaf mulch and other compostable materials in here. I also got cotton clothing. Like you can see, I obviously dumped some of my produce barrels on here. Citrus takes a long time to decompose. But we'll go ahead and dig down here. Okay, right immediately after you scrape off that top layer, there's earthworms, and you're looking at like a really rich mulch here. Look, there's like a peach seed or a plum seed. Some of those might sprout up this year. So, I mean, this is just a really healthy mulch. It's got worms running through it. When you dig down a little bit more, actually pull up, it's got mycelium growing in there. See that white stuff? That's fungus. And this one actually looks like it might have had some pine needles in it. It's just made a really rich topsoil now. So this year, this stuff should grow really well. Last year, everything didn't have enough time to decompose because it was the first year that I started on the mulch pits. Here's another experimental mulch pit. This one was actually a hole dug in the ground. It's square and probably 18 inches deep in the middle. Now I just piled a bunch of organic material in here. Let's see what's going on. That hasn't decomposed yet. It might be wool. Okay, but once you get past that first layer, all it is just rich humus. Smells great. It's already broken down. There's worms in it. It's just an excellent topsoil. So all of these beds should develop into really good garden beds. The only thing that I might have to adjust is clearing some of the forest cover, because as you can see here, this is like pretty much almost full shade. The only time you get sun is over there in the summer. So this is another interesting thing that's going on out here. All the irises are coming up, and last year the irises didn't really look like they were going to make it, but what I did was I just drove around town, and any old lady with some irises in her garden when they were blooming, I went through and asked her if I could pick some of the irises to get them started. She said go ahead, so I just picked like one of every color I could find. I probably got like 40 different colors spread throughout the property. But that's another thing that's really fun to do when irises go into bloom, is just kind of drive around and ask people if you can have starts to their plants. And some occasionally, like 1 out of 10 people will say no, but most people just say go ahead. So right here we got a mulch pit going on, and in the middle there's a peach tree, and that's actually leafing out already, and that's surprising because that's usually later in the year. But I also threw a bunch of fire pit ashes in these two beds. That should add some nutrients and stuff to it. I'm not sure if they're gonna like it. You always got to be careful how much you add. Over here we have more irises coming up. Even the toilet iris looks like it's gonna come back again. Here in this bed we've got some irises over there on the other side. We've got another peach tree here. We got some wild mullein coming up there. Looks like Queen Anne's lace there in the front. That's just a wild herb. And more irises coming up. Down here we've got one of the first flowers of the year. That's off a little forsythia sprig that I planted last year. It's doing pretty well. Here's another forsythia. Got a couple irises. Here's some of that garlic from last year. Coming up great, coming up strong. We should be able to get a harvestable garlic crop this year. Here's another forsythia bush. These actually get pretty tall, like 4 or 5 feet, and have flowers all over them in the spring. So that's nice that that one made it. Here's some of the bamboo that I planted about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And also, last year, out of the produce barrel, you get little green onions, and they're really small. The bulbs on them are no bigger than a wild onion when they're about this long. And me and TJ just planted a whole bunch of them, and they're actually really big this year, and they're probably gonna have some bulbs on them. About knee high. This stuff is way bigger and way healthier than it was when I got it from the store. Here's a little bit of the bamboo that I planted last year, and it still has some green leaves and green sprigs on it. So imagine that stuff's going to take off and start really getting bigger this year. I'm really going to have to worry about controlling the bamboo really soon, because here's where the road starts. So we'll have to dig a ditch or something right there to keep this stuff contained. Over here in my herb bed by the trailer, there's a lot of herbs coming up right now. Here's some lemon balm or Melissa that's coming up from last year. There should be some mint in here too, like 3 or 4 kinds. But it doesn't look like the mint's coming up yet. Over here, we've got garlic, got mullein, and we've got little parsley just now springing up to the ground. Ah, yeah. And then over here we've got one of the most important medicinals of all. This is an elderberry tree. I actually was out on a road trip one day and got 3 different starts of this, and it looks like this one's going to continue growing and hopefully produce berries in the next 2 or 3 years. It's an extremely medicinal plant used for a lot of different things. Here's some more parsley that spilled outside the garden bed. It's doing great. I'm guessing it's because you got these wood timbers here which hold a lot of heat and kind of keep it warm through the night. In this bed also we've got a bunch of garlic growing up between the oak trees there. That was garlic from last year, and it should be having harvestable bulbs this year. Here's the first potato sprig that I've found on the property. I planted a whole bunch of potatoes, red, yellow, white, and purple last year, and I did not harvest any of the bulbs, hoping that they would become perennial and become established and put off more tubers this year. So let's dig down here and see what's going on. This is one of the oldest mulch pits on the property, and it's therefore the thickest. I mean, it's got a bunch of grass clippings in it that's still breaking down. Look at that. There's the little potato tuber from last year, and it's going to grow into a whole new plant this year and give me even more. Here's another one of my 3 elderberry starts, and this one is going to come back as well. This is over here on the other side of the Delta Dawn, which I got some plans for. But here amongst the newly planted bamboo and last year's okra, which actually still has seeds in it, and I should probably plant those. We've got some irises coming up, some more irises. Here along the swale bed at the front of the property, I never did finish digging the hole and covering up all this organic material, which is a bunch of like logs and bushes and stuff, but it's still decomposing. And now we're going to actually have to go through here and put the water trench to get a water tap on this side, so I'm probably going to end up having to cover up the swale anyways, but at least this big old bed here will be good. Over there we've got some daylilies coming up. Over here it looks like we got tiger lilies and daylilies. Of course that's hickory. We've got a few mulch pits here that are going to have to be seeded this year. These mulch pits were actually developed later in the season last year, so let's see if these have any kind of good decomposition going on. Oh yeah, they're working too. Put it where? Oh my god. We've actually got potatoes in here. I should just leave this alone because they're fixing to get starting to sprout up. Here along the barrier tire wall, we've got a bunch of different irises coming up. They actually all survived. I put irises in between every single one of the tires so that eventually they'll kind of cover it up and have flowers growing right there. Here's the main part of the swale bed, which is basically just hugelkultur. Me and my bros dug a big old hole over on this side and then threw the dirt up on top of all the wood debris and stuff like that. And the only plant that I was really able to get established, it looks like, was Jerusalem artichoke. But that should come back this year and every year prior to that, or every year after that. But as you can see, my damn dog, she's a digger, and she has dug holes into this whole pile, probably because there's other creatures in there that she's trying to get after. But the only thing I would have done differently is maybe make it a little bit bigger, because now it's kind of sliding to the outsides. Here's some of the leftovers from Jerusalem artichoke. That'll be coming back this year. And then there in the background, you got some daylilies that are coming up really good. Also got another mullein that's coming up. These front beds may or may not do as good as the beds in the back because they're mostly made out of high carbon material, like only leaves, sticks, and twigs, brush like that and stuff like that. I didn't really add too much compost except for to a couple of these. So we'll see how these progress. These actually get the most sun because we're right out here by the water tower, and this is right where the clearing is and everything, and there's no trees on that side of it. So technically this should be the best spot to have a garden, but we'll just see how the compost works and how it goes.